Okay, so now, now that we know what a graph is all about and what it looks like, it's basically a visualization of data. We're going to turn our attention to the idea of how do we connect this to mathematics, which is usually equations. And so to start that journey, we have to revisit the old idea of what it meant to be a solution. So what what you can recall earlier in chapter 2, what a solution was, is we had to start by finding a value, right? Or maybe values, right? So it all started there. We have to find a value. And then the next part is we had to sub into the equation and then establish if we get a true statement or not. And that's still going to hold true here in this situation, even though there's two variables. The idea is we have to now find not just one value, but truly, right, a couple of values. So the S is important. So we got to find a value for X and Y. And that when I substitute it in, still gives me a true statement. So we're still looking for the same idea. The idea of a solution will not change on you guys no matter what. So again, back in the past in chapter 2, when we have something like this, right, we learned that we can actually subtract 5 from both sides. And then in this case, divide both sides by 3, and we find that the solution was x equals 7. Of course, what that meant is when I take that 7 and I plug it back into the equation, we get a true statement, right? So 21 plus 5 equals 26. So the same thing's going to hold true here, right? So now that there's two variables, I still have to find a couple of values, and because it's a couple of values, it's actually an ordered pair, right? What ordered pair can we plug in here and get a true statement? So what plus what would equal 5? And I'm pretty sure you can think of a lot of things like 4, 1. Right? That ordered pair right there is telling us that x is 4 and y is 1. And when I go plug it into the equation, we get a true statement. So that is a solution point. The challenging thing, though, is that back in chapter 2, when we found that value, we were kind of assured that that was the only value that worked. Right? We even said it was conditional. But now that I have two unknowns, we have two things going on, and we have more options. Because not only will 4, 1 work, but what if I flip their roles, right? So now x is 1 and y is 4. And when we plug that into the equation, that's a 1 there, we still get a true statement. So we now have another solution. And, you know, what about 3, 2? Well, if we plug 3, 2 into the equation, we get another true statement. So we have 3, 2, right? And on and on and on. We can even use negatives, right? So if we had, let's say, a negative 3, and I combined it with 8, right? There's x and there's y. So we have negative 3 plus 8. That would still give us a 5. So that is what's kind of challenging in this, is back in the day when we were solving equations chapter 2, when I found it, that usually was the only one that worked. We tried it, put it in, saw that it made it true. When we're solving an equation with more than one variable, in this case x's and y's, we actually have many more. There's actually an infinite number of solutions. So the challenge will be is how do we solve something like that? But let's go ahead and we'll see that in the next video. For now, what we now know what is a solution point. It's still the idea that we're finding an ordered pair, right? So values of x and y, that when I substitute in the equation, makes the equation true. See you guys in the next video.